All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoyk.
Brian Chesko.
Gentlemen, coming off an international break, most of us hate international breaks, and it forces us to, at this time of year, rake leaves and do other things that we wouldn't normally do on a Saturday morning because we do not have the EPL, the English Premier League, to watch, therefore making our FPL completely irrelevant. The good news is...
What is the good news?
There's no international break again until March.
We don't have an international break until match week 30.
Yep.
So we are coming out of match week
11.
We are coming out of match week 11, going into match week 12, and we will have 18 match weeks unless I miscounted or was ill-informed, until the next international break. So that is amazing news because most of us hate international breaks. So with that being said, we have a lot to get into, and we're going to dive on it quickly. Travis and Brian.
Yep.
I believe we need to start with a category that we're going to call today Hot or Not. Hot or Not. And we will reference different teams by, hey, they were smoking hot. We'll start with Liverpool. Going into the break, will they be able to carry on that hot streak, or will that break kind of crush their mojo or slow it down? Same thing for those like Manchester City. It's weird to say. Low mojo.
Yeah.
Going into the break. The break hit at a good time for them. Give them a chance to kind of repurpose, to find their mojo. So we're gonna do that kind of. We might not go through all the teams. We'll go through at least the important teams, the ones that we seem to care about and or we think matter at the moment. There are some teams that kind of wishy-washy and they're not hot and they're not either. Again, the category hot or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just not, you're not.
You can't do anything about not being hot.
Fair enough. All right, so let's start with the obvious spot. Red Hot Liverpool. No one's hotter in the league. I totally cut you off. Sorry.
Well, that's just what I said is not true.
Oh, okay.
Because you obviously can do something about
Maybe.
lack of heat.
Fine. We don't have to be that technical.
Liverpool, Dave.
Liverpool on fire. Liverpool on fire. They are the talk of the town. They cannot seem to lose, and it doesn't matter what competition they're in, especially the Premier League. Their last 5 matches, win-win, draw, win-win.
Was it? It feels like it was last season when the Arsenal Liverpool draw happened.
It really seems like forever ago.
That was the draw in the win-win, draw, win-win.
Yeah.
It does seem like a while back when Arsenal had them where they wanted them and let them off the hook. And but Liverpool earned it. Liverpool earned it.
It's not worth it anymore.
And
it was last
especially
season.
when the referees took away the goal there at the end of the game. But that's football. Sometimes you live by the hook.
Rules. You can't.
Sometimes you
can't
live by the hook, and you die by the hook. Liverpool hated to see this break come, Travis. I mean, when you're red hot, the last thing you want to see is a break.
I would agree with that.
And then to send all your guys away, hoping that they come back healthy from international break.
Yeah, a lot of them. The only silver lining is, like everyone else, actually more than even Arsenal, they're dealing with injuries. As much as Arteta wants to talk about it, your starting goalkeeper, your all-star right back. You got a forward.
Liverpool?
Yes. The more time that goes by, the quicker we get those guys back from injury back into first team
training. Who are you truly missing? You're not missing Alisson.
Yes.
No, you're not.
Well, I mean, we are, but we're not because the defense has been so solid.
If I'm Liverpool, I would have sold him last year and just kept Kelleher. I mean, you're carrying dead weight. You don't need both of them. Anyways,
I don't know about that. That's a
who else
hot
besides
take.
Alisson? That's not even a hot take.
Trent's
Kelleher
now injured.
has owned it.
Trent's now injured.
Trent
needs
is
some time.
injured.
Diogo
little ding.
Jota is injured.
It seems like he's always not healthy.
Well, I mean, he got laid on.
There's always a reason.
Ribs or
there's always a reason.
Contact injury.
Seems like Jota is always missing at minimum half the games in the season. It feels like that number,
he did have a pretty
that
serious
number
injury.
Might not.
But yeah, no, I mean, again,
I'm not knocking
he's tough.
his ability.
No, he's a tough guy, but he does tend to pick up some contact injuries. Been an issue, but again, he's coming back. Harvey Elliott is getting close. We need a little bit of depth.
Oh, the guy with the hair.
The hamburger hat.
That's nothing for you. Yeah. Anyways, continue to go.
Yeah, so
I'm serious.
We're missing
He's not an impact player.
He is an impact player. He just hadn't been able to play this season, which is not hurt us, but it could have helped us. I guess is where I'm at.
You could have sold him and you wouldn't have missed him. Anyways.
Well,
no, you know it's true. You know it's true. Stop being Homeburger. We all have guys that we kind of like. But honestly, if they sold him, it wouldn't have.
We have some injuries.
Loved Eddie and Kedia. We sold him. It's whatever. Don't miss him. Smith Rowe. I don't know. Some people say we shouldn't have sold him, but
he's performing pretty well.
According to Football 365, Liverpool is 6th in minutes missed due to injury.
Really?
So the 6th most.
Where is Arsenal?
24 games missed by players.
Who would have played
due to injury? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Arsenal?
Again.
Villa 5th, Tottenham 4th most, Arsenal 3rd, 38 games missed.
Surprised that
you
Spurs
thought
are that high.
you thought Arsenal would be higher.
No, I figured City might be highest.
Did you see the?
Actually, Manchester United is most, and
really?
City is second most.
Because they've had Maguire and Luke Shaw,
Lenny Oro, and Hoyland. Did you see Zinchenko's quote in The Athletic this week
about
the injuries and about Arteta's rhetoric and how he's
he tells the guys even if they're injured to walk in off the bus like they're not injured. It's awesome.
Just to mess with the opposition managers
and or at minimum the press.
Yeah,
it's probably more for the press.
He just wants to throw off the scent. I just think that is just gamesmanship at the highest level from a manager. That's some real,
hey,
shouldn't you be worried about tactics too?
Yeah, I'm sure is worried about tactics. It's not like you choose one. How much effort did it take? Hey, boys, just get dressed and walk in. I know
get your wash bag.
I mean, how much effort? And he's like, nah. We don't need tactics. They're gonna think you're playing.
I guess
what
kind of
accent is that, by the way? What is that?
I wondered.
I don't even know.
Like that was Super Mario.
Zero. It's a pizza.
Honestly, I wouldn't have guessed Liverpool had that many minutes. I would have thought Liverpool's actually lower. I don't really feel like
we don't whine about it.
No,
like everybody else.
Because it's not impact players.
Yeah,
again, you could argue Allison, but I mean Kelleher is a starter in the Premier League. He's not a backup. They have 2 starters, and it was bad business keeping both of them.
Well, the fact
they kept both of them for this reason. Exactly this reason.
Kelleher don't get hurt.
So yes, he did. He had to sit out, and Yaros had to start against Brighton. He's their 3rd string. We needed him. Hey, let me ask you this, Kelleher. Does he get in the team at Arsenal ahead of Raya?
No.
So he's not that good. He's not that good at wasting time.
There aren't many I would take above Raya right now.
He takes his goal kicks too quickly, so he couldn't couldn't cut it in Arsenal.
Not a team player.
He gets up too fast after he lays down.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Saves too many goals.
The simple fact is there isn't a team with the heat of Liverpool right now, and for transfers in, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It only impacts right now. It impacts Virgil and Konate and Salah, and that's it. Because Allison's back in training, so anyone who went to Kelleher has to
think about moving.
Has to have other plans.
It's probably too early to move off of Kelleher, but I would forgive anyone who did because Allison could just as easily come off the benches. Start the match as start on the bench. But if he's going to make the bench, they're gonna just start him.
You can't have Luis Diaz. You should have bailed on him long ago. But he's he's traveling, one of the few of theirs that's fit to travel and traveled and coming back late again, so unlikely to play against Southampton, or at least not to start.
Darwin's same because they played each other.
Darwin out, but he was finding a little bit of form. I suppose he did score last game. I guess something. You're just still not doing anything about it.
Not
but yeah,
Premier League.
It's all Salah, and then whether or not to sell Trent if you have him. So
Cody Gakpo could be in the mix, especially with Diaz not being out. He scored again on international duty.
It's nice that it's simplified though. Like it's now narrowed.
It's like three Liverpool players.
It's now narrowed to 3 that you can be serious about. Really, you're only picking
that Connor Bradley was playing. I can't imagine he's very expensive.
No, but even then, it's
temporary. Right. Trent's going to come back. We've already got news that his injury is not going to be long term. He should be fine.
Okay.
He avoided long term major injury, so it's if not when.
FPL Physio.
I'd rather win.
FPL Physio on X. I'm not sure how reliable it is. I'm not sure how physio he is.
Very official.
Yeah, it does. He flat out said 5 hours ago Trent won't play Southampton. Not sure what kind of, if there's insider information there.
I mean, he's a professional, so
he won't play.
He has
take that to the bank.
He has a newsletter. So anybody with a newsletter, there's something.
You remember when we had one of those and you used to write articles?
Yeah. I did used to do that.
You used to do a lot of things.
That was really good too.
True.
By the
You've
way.
changed.
This podcast used to be something else.
You're welcome.
No, but Trent won't play Southampton. I mean, I don't feel like that's
pretty bold.
It's bold, but I don't feel like it's
probably
it's not
right.
groundbreaking.
He's
but
probably
it's just
right.
a bold statement, and he probably is right.
Right. So anyway, that I feel like that's the nice thing about Liverpool is that
I found
Travis.
FPL Doctor on Twitter says he will play.
Okay, are you serious?
No, I made that up.
All right, Travis, will this break Liverpool's stride? This break? Do you think as they're coming out of the international break, as they're rolling into games at Southampton, home City, at Newcastle, at Everton, home Fulham, at Spurs?
No, I don't think it will break their stride. I think the thing that's going to I think they come out hot. They may struggle against Southampton, but they will win. The City match is right up against the Real Madrid match as well in the Champions League. So as far as I'm concerned, the next couple of weeks are going to be really big for Liverpool. So will they come out hot? I think so. I think they'll maintain that form. They are measured in everything that they do. They had guys, and I don't know if you mentioned this, guys like Virgil came back early. Mm-hmm. Only a few are traveling long distances. Most of their players that were on international break came back fit or didn't go at all because they were struggling with something. So as far as I'm concerned, it should be business as usual.
Okay.
Even now, looking back at the last trap of the previous international break where you lose to Nottingham Forest,
right?
Even looking back at that now, you just say
they were that good.
Well, Nottingham Forest isn't bad. I mean, they're better than I think anyone assumed at that 100%. Point. If anyone got trapped by Nottingham Forest, it was the people who looked at their FPL matchup difficulty rating color as seeing them as green.
Nottingham Forest trap. 5th in the table, tied on points with 3rd and 4th.
Right. So that's why I think even that, I feel like it's more about this is more about Slot kicking Arteta's what up and down the field.
Right in the slot?
Kicking him right in the slot.
Interesting. All right.
Who's next, Dave?
Let's jump right to City on the knot.
How could you call them hot in any way?
They're not.
You can't.
They are on the knot. They're not hot. They're not hot. They're not. City losing 4 in a row, including all competitions, 2 Premier League matches in a row. 1 to Bournemouth, 2-1 to Bournemouth, and then 2-1 to City. I remember watching this game and thinking surely Brighton can't continue to hold on. But they had their subs were absolutely electric. I remember Adringa coming in and being ridiculous and Balbuena coming in and being even more ridiculously good than Adringa. And Brighton was the best team on the pitch that day, and that's not even close. It was absolutely amazing to see. But Bournemouth kind of did the same thing to him.
Yeah.
per the FPL boys, I'm sure they're not the only ones that have said it, but that was the first time City lost a game in which Haaland scored.
That's interesting.
Prior to it were 40 wins and 6 draws. That's a wild stat.
Yeah, they're on the losing streak.
Insane.
They legitimately are on a losing streak. They've lost 4 in a row. I got to believe, and look, it doesn't get any easier for them playing a team that they just lost to three or 4 games ago in a cup match in Spurs. Now, you could say it's a cup match. Maybe they didn't have all their proper Premier League lineups out there, but here we go. Good luck. One bogey team for City over the last 6 to 8 years that I can remember is Tottenham Hotspur. And it doesn't seem to matter their personnel. Spurs seem to give City a hard time.
Jose Mourinho had them purring, didn't he?
I don't know who they're not really getting anyone back. I mean, the hope is that De Bruyne. I mean, that's like your best case. Best case is you get De Bruyne.
I mean, he was
De Bruyne
dressed
back.
for the Brighton game. I think he was dressed for the Bournemouth
but
game.
even still,
it didn't mean anything.
Right?
He didn't play.
Right.
So he just sat there on the bench because City's so hurt that they don't even have bench players. They have to have the injured players sit on the bench.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no triangle by De Bruyne's name, by the way.
No triangle, and so it's just, and so many of the guys that are injured, they might even have a triangle. I mean, you're looking at just through looking through Premier Injuries, Bend Injuries, amazing website, just seeing like 8 guys basically potentially flagged, but all looking like they should be available this weekend. So.
Are you not looking at the items we have to talk about? That's a whole segment.
No, I'm just saying. That's just one of those things.
Yeah, he's supposed to get ahead of himself.
No, I think it's just thinking of what they have to offer. Like how many more chances can Haaland miss? How many more?
Right.
How many more goals can he not score? It seems like he can't possibly.
The service has been terrible, though.
Yeah,
right. Like without, and I know this is beating a dead horse, but without Rodri doing the build-up and moving the defense around, there's been 0 penetration and 0 service for Haaland, and it's not that it's not that he's like missing all these chances. He's not getting chances. Like,
well, I guess he's getting a. He's had
low percentage chances that do show up.
He's got the most big chances. He's still credited with the most big chances of almost anybody. It's just that I don't know what else. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I think that is Did we talk about it last time? Just like the swing between, like, if you backed only Haaland or only Salah, like what a massive gap that is now. If you had just stuck with Salah the entire time, you'd be so far, like massively far ahead of Haaland.
Or you could be like me and go Haaland and then switch to Salah.
Right. Or you could have done that also.
In what league?
All of them.
I'm number 2 in the mini league. Where are you at?
Like at the bottom.
Yeah, but you're on
I backed Salah the entire time.
If you did it, it's like you're not backing. That's the thing. You're backing the highest scoring player of the last 2 seasons compared to potentially the best FPL individual player you've ever seen. So it's not like you're backing a bad player against an extremely good player. You're backing 2 of the best players of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And it just
Which is why their prices are in unfathomable.
And there's tons of information about the numbers and how it's skewed and how Haaland is so far beyond Salah in every possible category, and yet Salah's returns are at this point basically might as well be double what Haaland's are. So
it's that rhino foot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes it happens.
But I mean, Dave, I don't see. Do you? So you don't have Haaland?
Salah's outscored Haaland by 25 points through 11 weeks.
It feels like it feels more like double. It feels more like
25.
It feels more like 100 to 50.
25 actual points.
Yeah, that's not as much as I thought. You don't have Haaland, or you still do? Yeah. Did you sell him?
No, I didn't have him to start with, and I jumped on him, and now I have both.
Oh. Okay.
I've had both most of the season after like week 3.
It didn't hurt you this past week, Mr. 67.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I'll say.
It was fine. Okay.
I'll say.
One of the questions I've seen someone ask, I know for sure it's out there. I can't remember who did it, but just the kind of the question of like look over the next however many games it is, and just kind of like the question of how many times do you see yourself captaining Haaland compared to someone else, and like especially whenever you're looking at. Where you've got Salah against Southampton this week, which I feel like, or Palmer against Leicester. You see that as probably higher likelihood captains compared to Haaland, even if they're home against Spurs. But is like what color
is Romero playing?
They're calling Spurs.
Is Van de Ven playing?
Romero's
Manchester hurt. City home against Tottenham is a 4 on the difficulty rater. It's a red matchup. That is the least red possible. It's nearly glowing green. Romero's not going to play in that game.
Van de Ven's not playing.
Van de Ven is not playing in that game.
Who's playing center back for them? Ben Davies?
Ben Davis and someone.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So this is why it's like, what
target them?
How is he not a captain option? The way everyone's framed, it's really how you frame the conversation here. You look at Palmer away against Leicester, plucky Leicester, and Cole Palmer who just had 1 shot total against Arsenal in the last game week. Like one of the few actual heavy hitters who did nothing this past week. Salah,
when you played Declan Rice,
Salah,
he shuts you down.
Who just continues to crush, but who, I mean, look, you got Champions League, Manchester City, Newcastle, and
what are the chances that he plays 90
schedule.
minutes?
Right.
Probably not.
So
he comes off. I think he comes off.
It could be Basuma playing center back or Dragusin.
Dragusin will definitely be as long as he's fit.
I know, but what? Him and who? Probably Davies.
Yeah, it could.
And then
you'd have to.
What is Reguilon going to get a start? Is Jed Spence going to get a start?
Mm-hmm.
Poro's obviously playing. Again, Udogie will be there. Anyways, yeah, they got problems, man.
Right, so that's why I'm saying. Like I know, they're just looking through or Saka home to Nottingham Forest. I don't know if how many people have him or whatever. Bruno Fernandes now all of a sudden a captain option away to Ipswich coming off the break. So like, I think there are 4. I mean, that's like put the names on a dartboard and toss.
Yeah.
So I don't see that.
Can we get a dartboard and do that?
That'd be amazing. Just have it spinning here and
or a spinning wheel, some sort of wheel.
I could 3D print that. We'll get it going.
A wheel of fortune. No, but
yeah,
that's the thing. And then the schedule's busy for everybody. So I don't know. I mean, how good of a manager is Pep? Probably good. Seems like he's pretty good.
Decent.
Do you back him to turn it around, or is this just like too much of a sinking ship? It feels
sinky.
Everybody wants to make so much of it's the end of an era. We're watching a dynasty fall apart, and you know what? Every fiber of my being hopes that that's the case. But at the end of the day,
I just don't think
it's just not gonna happen. They're gonna win a lot more games before they fall, and their fall is gonna be legal. Like it just that's how it's gonna play out.
All right.
How many times have they been 5 points behind first place, regardless of who it is at this point of the season?
I think it's actually fairly frequently. They lose.
I feel like they're always behind in the beginning.
Yeah,
and then they're
always on the pace.
They're close at Christmas.
Yep.
And then they start 4 or 5 games after Boxing
Day. Do you have
Day.
stats on that?
Better podcast would.
Okay.
I was going to say
4 or 5 games.
We should start listening to somebody that has that kind of.
I know.
Forethought.
Are we?
Who's next, Dave?
Yep. That's where I wanted to go to. Chelsea.
Back to hot.
Chelsea, 3rd in the table. I didn't want to go to them, but their last
they are
5.
3rd in the table. So.
Draw, loss, win, draw. Draw to United, draw to Arsenal.
They do seem to be putting it together. Honestly,
are they hot going into the break, or are they not?
They are. They are not. They are just probably just.
I would say they're neither.
Yeah, right. That's where I'm going with. They're not hot. They're not. They're not.
They're hot.
They're lukewarm.
I was gonna say lukewarm is pretty
Lukewarm.
fair.
All right, so let's not stay on them. I know that we probably have,
but does the break help them or hurt them? I guess is the question. Does it kick them over the edge?
I think it helps them because Palmer might have been dinged up a little bit and he stayed at home, and I think it helps Chelsea.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll give that to you.
and for Chelsea, there's not. I mean, this is the.
They still have a new-ish manager, so I think the more
Levi
No,
Colwill
they
needed
have,
some more
I think will
minutes
only
to
help.
get over last match.
I would love to know what there's been so many teams where you say, oh, there's a fixture turn here, and the results don't necessarily correspond. Like something happens. Like Spurs had a great run, and they do very little with it, which is not all that surprising. But like this is the Chelsea fixture turn. Like we've talked about it before. Plenty of you. All you have to do is click on any player and look at the fixture list and the sea of green that's in front of them. The way I've done it works like that.
It's interesting.
But no, I mean, there just isn't anyone until January, really until City, until away to City is the first time. That's January 25th, match week 23. That's the first time where
but who's in play on that though? Like for Chelsea, I mean, besides Palmer, who else can you pick up?
Well, so that's the thing. It's
Nico
Jackson.
Jackson.
It's Nick Jackson.
Madueke maybe.
Well, I've seen a lot of fringy kind of arguments here for Pedro Neto, just because Neto's started the last.
He scored one goal.
Started the last three, so in the last 3 weeks,
I feel like Neto, Madueke, they fit into the same category for me as Diaz, Gakpo, Nunez. Don't know what to do with them. Not gonna own them.
The good thing for Madueke, after all of the debating about what's going to happen, he had those, he had the blow up hat trick in week 2. That was week 2 where it's all of a sudden he's in everybody's consideration, and then it's he only started this now he started, plays 90 minutes, but what are his minutes going to be? He has never played less than 62 minutes since then. So Madueke is a starter and a minimum 60-minute man for them in every game this season.
Madueke or Martinelli, who's on your radar?
Wow, that's a good one.
Would you put? Who has more points? Do you think?
Madueke hadn't had the chances that Martinelli's had.
So you'd say Martinelli probably has the.
I mean, if you made me say fantasy own at the moment, I'd say neither.
I would agree with that. Martinelli's on 47 points. Madueke's on 49. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Very close.
Because I would have probably said I'd rather have Madueke over Martinelli.
Interesting.
Arteta needs to sit him right now. He shouldn't be starting. Raheem Sterling needs to get some starts.
Interesting.
Hot take.
For the season, Dave, in case you want a quick comparison of Madueke and Gabriel Martinelli, Martinelli, I mean, I know it's the timing, the amount of time they've actually played, but Madueke's played 100 more minutes than Martinelli this season. That's what I'm saying. Martinelli kind of fading in and out of the lineup, but even with that, I mean, Martinelli's ahead of him.
He's had multiple starts in a row. That's surprising.
Madueke outshooting him by 5. 17-12. Martinelli one more shot on target for the season. But I mean, the points between the two of them, I mean, I think the points don't really say a lot. I mean, how confident are you that Martinelli has his spot nailed down? Does Trossard's injury take him out of consideration for that?
Do we know how bad Trossard's injury is yet? I haven't heard. A better podcast would know.
I'm just saying,
I don't think anybody cares.
The fixtures are getting a little bit better for Arsenal too. I just don't think I think you're either going for I don't think you're sacrificing Saka for Martinelli, and where and I feel like it's the same for Cole Palmer and any other. If you're gonna go for a fringe Chelsea midfielder, it feels more safe for someone like Madueke because of the minutes.
Yep.
Neto, it's 3 in a row where he's played 90 minutes. I guess the difference is with Neto, I think the last 3 he's taken like 10 shots or something like that. Like he's really high among midfielders in the last 3 weeks. I think that's what's kind of catching people's eye. And did he scored this week? Is that what happened? So like, if it's you've seen it before with him. Like if you get something like peak Wolves Pedro Neto, then that.
Well, yeah, that's what you're hoping for.
Right, but that changes everything. I think the issue with Chelsea with everything has been they have so many attacking players. They have so many people who can fit in the attacking roles, and the only guys who aren't casualties of that so far are Cole Palmer and Nico Jackson. So
Nico,
you catching Pokemon over there? What is that noise? It sounds like the Pokemon. I
shouldn't make
noise.
it anymore. I just muted all the noises on the computer. Bad form there. Should have had that muted already.
Pooter, mute.
You said no Roblox on pod.
I tried. I turned the parental settings on, but they're not working.
It's been a rule since we started. No on pod Roblox.
This guy,
holy crap,
marches to the beat of his own drum.
Anyways,
things
Dave,
I've never played.
Dave, who else
for 100? Trebek. All right. Well, let's go into a not. Hot or not, let's go to a not. Arsenal. International break couldn't get here soon enough.
Arsenal Football Club
needed
clearly not hot.
A breather, clearly not hot. Horribly ice cold.
Have you revisited the question from last week, Dave? Is it falling apart?
It's close.
You're still on the fence on it.
It's close.
Are you not more than City is? Are you more not than
I
City?
think we are in a better shape than City. I mean, yes, technically they're higher in the table, but I think I'd rather be in our position currently with injuries and everything than where City is.
Why? Why would you not want to be second place?
Because they are crushed with injuries. Crushed. Rodri's not walking back in the pitch. Supposedly De Bruyne is around. There's no triangles by his name. Will he play? We don't know.
He's getting fit for the MLS.
Grealish.
January.
Go just rock down the list of
not good.
of City players.
Dave, your next 4
all wins.
You think?
No. Maybe. I'm hopeful. Look, Akanji, Stones, Diaz, Ake,
10, yeah.
Simpson, Pucci, Doku, Nunez, Foden, Grealish, obviously Rodrigo, Oscar Bob, obviously, and even O'Reilly. I mean, honest to God, what? They got problems. And yes, some of those are yellow, so they might be 25 to 50%. But let's just say you take half of those that don't play.
Yeah, the only 3 that look to be ruled out are Rodri, Bob, and Ruben Diaz. But still, Ake's not anywhere close, and the rest of them
and even if they do play, a lot of those guys have been playing. And what have they been producing? Doo-doo.
Yeah, it's not been
doo-doo. And they've been getting owned on the pitch, whether in Europe, whether Cup or Premier League.
Yeah, I do think that Arsenal has a greater capacity for a win right now.
Do you know
City.
that the last 4 competitions between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest, you've split exactly 2 wins, 2 losses with them?
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
Do you know that the last 4 all competition with Nottingham Forest, Arsenal has won 5-0, lost 1-0, won 5-0, and lost 1-0.
So you're telling me those are my options.
So your next, 1-0
or 5-0 is my option.
Sorry, you've won your last 2 matches against them. Prior to that, you had split the previous 4. But either way, it was hilarious that your first, like the out of the last 6, they've won 2. But you've both of those were 1-0. Which is more likely, you winning at home against them 5-0 or them beating you 1-0? Right now, I almost think they have a better chance of beating you 1-0. You guys don't feel like a 5-0 team anymore.
It's fair. Haven't shown much of that this season. 5-0's a big number. 3-0?
Odegaard coming back did matter.
Yeah.
It did. It did matter.
Ben White, surgery, out forever. Everyone,
6 weeks.
People still making arguments for Gabriel where, to me, this makes Urian Timber the kind of the clear cut.
Calafiori's back.
How would you rank your defenders for people buying an Arsenal defender?
Goal threat. It's got to be goal threat. It's got to be Gabriel, right?
It's probably got to be Gabriel. I'm just sorry. I'm got to update myself on Calafiori's prices here.
Dave, I guess what I'm saying is like you get Nottingham Forest at home, and you're at West Ham. West Ham somehow always manages to give you guys a problem. Then you're home to
Timber.
Then you're home to Manchester United. That isn't fun for you, I wouldn't guess.
It's fine.
And then you're at Fulham.
We've had way harder schedule. Look at the first part of our season up to this point.
No, I know. I'm just saying,
not a problem.
But I'm just saying the last four. Like,
at Villa, home Brighton, at Spurs, at City, home Leicester, great. Home Southampton, great. At Bournemouth, home Liverpool, at Newcastle, at Chelsea. Yeah, we've played most of the big teams up to this point away, except for Spurs. No, that's not true.
Yeah,
we were at Spurs.
No, I'm not saying that you. I'm not saying
Liverpool. We played at home.
I'm not saying you can't be good. I'm just saying like the next four are like, it's part of this like fixture turn for Arsenal. I'm like, well, Nottingham Forest
isn't part of the fixture turn.
Really easy.
Yeah.
Arsenal's history with Fulham.
West Ham sucks. So if
you
guys don't,
they do seem to be starting to put it together, but they are not.
But they've also,
the team that
even when they've sucked, you still manage to find a way to kind of.
I respect Forest, and Forest might get it. They might get something out of this result, but I expect them to be Arsenal's botch.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a 2-0 or 3-0 win.
All right.
I know that sounds crazy, but I think the international break came in a good time.
You should bet on it. Will Arsenal win a minimum 2-0 against Nottingham Forest? You say no. Dave, you say yes. Put it on the board.
What board? We don't even go back.
I don't know.
As the great Nate Ravitz would say,
put it on our list.
Put it on our list.
Our list is very small.
Put it on our list.
Mark it down the sheet. Is that
we can't say put it on the board.
Yeah, it's not. We do not.
We can't say that.
Here.
We do not have that.
Anyway,
in our locker.
all of that to
we
say,
should have a board.
I just think whatever. I mean,
should have a whiteboard.
All right, so we're saying
a lot of the hype with Arsenal has been assumption of quality, and Arsenal has continued to show like lapses, and rather than attacking, something we've talked about repeatedly of, time wasting and scaredy tactics, and so.
I think the break is landed at the perfect time.
Is Odegaard enough to course correct?
I think it's a good timing of Odegaard coming back and international break to fix all the problems.
We're not going the whole way down the table and hot or not on this.
No.
Okay.
No, we're not, because we'll be here for too long.
Right.
Hold on, finding the table. Here we go. All right. Next interesting team down, Fulham. 2 wins on the trot here.
I thought you were gonna go to
Fulham win at Brentford. I'm sorry, home to Brentford, and then at Palace, and before that they drew Everton 1-1. Fulham, do you buy any Fulham's players? They've had multiples. Travis, you've owned 1 or 2 Fulham players this season.
Yeah, I did have Robinson for a good while. Then I sold him, and he started scoring again.
Yeah, I've had 3. I had
at one time
Jimenez,
or 3 different ones.
Smith Rowe, Robinson.
No, at the start of the season, I had Anthony Robinson, Smith Rowe, and Muniz.
Okay,
you bought Jimenez, though, didn't you?
And I do now currently have Raul Jimenez.
You still have Smith Rowe?
No, I don't.
Okay, do you have Anthony Robinson?
No, and I was looking at that because I see that he's a top. He's probably a top 10. Transfer in. He cracks it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 8th most transferred in for defenders in this long game week. So, and I understand
he had two
why.
sixes in a row.
That's the thing.
That was on the back of a 1-1-2.
Gets the winning assist against Brentford 2 weeks ago, and then the absolutely toothless Crystal Palace team, which will continue to be toothless at least for the next at least for the next couple weeks.
Travis, have you looked at the list? Have you looked at the fantasy scoring midfielder list? Did you just look at it?
What about it?
Don't look at it. I just want to ask you some
No, not really.
More fantasy points, Madueke or Smith Rowe?
Oh, I know Smith Rowe's up high. I think he's like the fifth most top score, fifth.
Who's got more fantasy points, Luis Diaz or Smith Rowe?
I think Luis Diaz has more points.
I actually think Smith Rowe has him because I was noticing that earlier. I think he has him.
Diaz has outscored him
by how much?
By 10.
Oh, okay.
So somewhat significant.
Where is Smith Rowe?
Luis Diaz was so high for so long because of those 3 huge games he had.
Who has more fantasy points, Smith Rowe or Madison?
That's a closer one.
As in James.
I think it's Madison, but closer.
It's extremely close.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought it was Smith Rowe.
It is Smith Rowe by 2.
Okay.
So Smith Rowe 6th overall. Only guys scored with more fantasy points in the midfield than Smith Rowe is Diaz, Saka, Mbeumo, Palmer, and Salah.
I was gonna say
that is it.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that is it. And a lot of people started the season with him and have just continued to ride the wave. He had a little bit of a dry spell where he got 3 games, didn't give you much, but then in the last 3 matches,
double digits
6-11
that helped.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I had Smith Rowe until game week 5. Got rid of him. I dumped him on my game week 6 wild card. It's the only good move that I made on the game week 6 wild card.
Which in that week he had a 3-1 and then a 1. So
right, and that's what I was saying.
Great, and then the last 3 weeks 6-11.
Right, and I'm just saying you can't fault anybody who has gone away from him, especially because this is his first. I'm just saying it's the first return. Like his an 11 this week is the first real return he's had.
The double digits are really floating him.
It's just surprising you dropped him. A little surprising you dropped him after his first 5 weeks. He turned in a 3-10, 2-7-8.
I was worried about.
You dropped him after the 7-8.
I was worried about minutes. I think that was I didn't love the schedule because Fulham's opening schedule was extremely good.
Yeah.
Then they kind of hit a tougher patch. Of course, his results kind of corresponded with that. And then this past week, that's why I'm saying he goes a goal and 3 bonus points. It's not like it wasn't some massive game for him. He scored, but because of involvement, he gets 3 bonus.
Yeah.
And it turns to double digits. This is how Salah's been getting giant scores. Anytime any of the really involved midfielders do something, they've been
Which is shocking because Salah hasn't been that really involved.
They've been getting all the bonus. I'm just saying, like Smith Rowe, this is what's certain. He will never be a 90-minute guy. I understand we're going into a busy period, and I don't know who's 90 minutes except for teams who don't play in an additional competition.
Right.
But 88 minutes last week was the most he's played this season. He's played over 80 minutes 4 times total. That's Smith Rowe. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, can he be really good in 65 minutes? Like, obviously. It just seems like there are other players who are going to be way more certain for minutes. The other thing was...
Doesn't matter how many minutes they played up to this point. Smith Rowe's still 6th overall.
For sure. No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I am not saying he's not a bad pick. I'm just saying...
Yeah,
like this is an 11.
You're gonna sit. You're gonna sit on a 2 or a 1 until you get your windfall.
I do like for attack, they're good at least the next 3 weeks. Home Wolves, at Spurs, home Brighton. I'm not really sure why anybody's going to. You really counting on Anthony Robinson? Leno gets a good return this past week, but defensively, I don't know.
There's plenty of guys right around that 4-7 mark.
Yeah. I get why the result is good, but I just don't know why you're going to a defender for them anytime soon. Anyway.
All right, next group, Newcastle seems to have turned a page, coming 2 wins on the hop. 1-0 against Arsenal, that was pure luck, and then 3-1 against Forest. Isak's coming back. Seems to be getting some work. Brian, what say you?
I think 3-1.
Joe Linton's back on the score sheet.
I think 3-1 against Nottingham Forest is shocking.
Yeah.
Given the way they've been
Forest.
playing. Yeah. I don't know that
Maybe we've been giving them too much credit.
I don't know that
they've been playing a cupcake of a schedule.
I mean, I don't know that that's true.
Maybe
Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool. I don't know what I mean. That's
again cupcake of a schedule. What can I say?
Well, I'm just saying, I just think Newcastle didn't really look like a team that could. It doesn't feel like they were the kind of team that could win 3-1. They just haven't been. I feel like they haven't been scoring like that.
Tell me when I reach a top, a top 6 or 7 club. Bournemouth, that's who they played first match. Southampton, Wolves, Liverpool, yes. Brighton, are they in the top 10? Maybe close. 6, probably, right? Fulham, Chelsea. Chelsea's number 4-3, or 3 through 6 all tied. Palace, Leicester, West Ham, and then Newcastle. So they lose to Fulham. They lose to Newcastle. Both.
They played 4 people that are in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, but they haven't played any of the big clubs with the exception of Liverpool.
I'm saying you have to go.
My point
Chelsea.
being
I'm
is
saying you have to go back to August 9th to find the last time Newcastle scored more than 2 goals in a game, and that was against Girona.
Yeah.
So I'm saying.
No, I hear you.
I'm just
Newcastle's been in a slump.
I'm just saying they scored 2 against Spurs in November. In September.
It's just this. In the results that they got, 1-1 to Bournemouth. They 1-0 to Southampton, 1-1 to Wolves, 1-0 to Liverpool, 2-2 to Brighton, 1-0 Fulham, 1-1, 1-0. Then they finally beat Leicester 3-1, and then they beat West Ham 3-0. Then they take one on the head to Newcastle 3-1. Point being,
this is an Arsenal.
It is just a marginal, they've had a marginal. Look, you have to play the people in front of you. Okay, they don't make the schedule; they're given the schedule. So kudos to them. They've done.
All I know is they have the same number of points as Arsenal and Brighton.
They are
right now.
a paper tiger.
Newcastle, on the other hand,
which is what we're talking about,
has 3 pretty good wins in a row. A quality team that reminded everyone that they still are actual quality.
It's fair.
In the past 3 weeks. Isak probably going to end up. I think Wissa is still ahead of him and transfers in. Isak, I think Wissa's triangle is probably going to slow down. I don't think he's anything to worry about for missing, but Isak should probably pass him for transfers in among forwards
before the game week starts. Yeah.
No, it's totally understandable. Alexander Isak, we talked about him last week. I feel like we've talked about him. I don't want to bring him in as soon as he was fit. I think that the fear of him, like the risk of re-injury with him, always feels like it's at the breaking point. But hey, look, since he came back in game week 8, so it's 4 straight weeks, he's got 28 points. Only Wood and Cunha have more than him. So it's 29
really
for Wood and Cunha. They're leading the forward point scoring. And it's still the same as it was last week. He's second or first in every attacking category. It's either him or Haaland among forwards in shots on target, shots in the box, big chances, XG, touches in the opposition box. The one place he is different is that he's created 6 chances, which is second only to Matheus Cunha among forwards.
Okay.
So this is where Isak and Cunha are kind of by far the creative forwards with Raul Jimenez. The 3 of them are the most creative, but it's Isak and Haaland in the pure attacking statistics. And now this is three goals in a row, I think, for Isak. Or has he scored 4 in a row? No, he didn't score. He didn't score 4 that first game. Yeah, and then he scored the last 3. So, I mean, is he? If you're wild carding, is he one of your 3 forwards? If you're wild carding this week,
I don't think so.
That's a good
question. No,
I don't think so.
This is the. I mean, we'll get to it, I guess, at some point. I'm just saying, like, this is the thing with like this the results from last week, and this long list of really good forwards to choose from, where you could still make a case for not picking Isak, I guess. But it just seems like
so expensive, and you got guys like Cunha or Wissa that you can bring in. Even Delap, like the idea that you could, like that's all reasonable, and then you can use your money elsewhere.
8.5 is steep compared to
really
so many other guys who are either outperforming him or on par with him, and his pound dollars are expensive.
Yeah, Welbeck, Jackson, Cunha.
I just said the last 4 weeks he's the number 2 scoring forward. I just feel like that's not.
I don't care. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. I still think. I mean, again, who's won? Who's your number 1
in the last 4?
Yeah,
not Havertz.
Chris Wood,
Cunha, or Chris Wood.
It's Chris Wood and Matheus Cunha.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like both those guys are in the 6s. It's dirt cheap compared to 8.5 over here.
Right, and I just think, like, if you were picking, though, like, if you're not, are you picking Chris Wood when he's about to go to Arsenal, then play Ipswich, then at Manchester City,
Arsenal.
At Manchester
he's
United?
He's absolutely scoring against all those people.
Bet he doesn't.
Now there's a bet. Chris Wood scores
anytime goal. Anytime goal, Chris Wood. I will take
Dave
the under.
Says no. Travis says absolutely.
I don't actually believe it, but I think I'm going to. Hey, by the way, did we? I've got Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal 0 to 1.5. You've got the over. I've got the under. Are you committed to that or no?
We
talked about it, but we didn't.
Say that again. I wasn't.
Nottingham Forest Arsenal 0 to 1.5. You've got the over. I've got the under.
0 goals for Nottingham Forest and 1.5.
Yeah, I'll take the over.
Taking the over. All right. And then we're also going with anytime goals.
Anytime goal for Chris Wood. I say nay. Ye say yay. Put it in the hay.
I don't think Chris Wood, like, that's the guy, like, I get the returns.
By the way, I'll be starting Chris Wood in my fantasy lineup probably.
Yeah.
But I say nay. Although it's worked out for me. I've when the offensive players go up against Arsenal, I've been sitting them. So even though other teams like score, it hasn't been like the main guys who are scoring. So.
I'm not surprised. The way that the current forward transfers in look, to me, it looks almost exactly right. To me, the one guy who doesn't, I get why people are transferring Chris Wood in as much as they are. To me, the fixtures don't warrant it the same way the fixtures do for every other guy in front of him and most of the guys behind him.
I agree.
So that's the one guy where I'm like, congratulations if you had all of his points, because there are plenty of people who jumped on him quickly. He just has been a monster, and
I agree.
I wouldn't be doing it now, but also I'm not good at this. So that's the other part.
One last team to mention in hot or not. One last team. I think this will be quick.
Nottingham Forest,
Aston Villa, Aston Villa, not.
No, they're not really.
Yeah. Draw, loss. Draw to Bournemouth, loss to Spurs, and lost to Liverpool. Now, that's not the easiest of schedules there, but regardless, it is a not. Is there anyone on Villa that you would want on your fantasy team at the moment and you would start? Morgan Rogers is hurt, correct?
Do you still have Luka Dean?
I do.
Okay, there you go.
And his points are interesting.
That is one of the guys. No, this is another team where the fixtures really are easing up. It's just a question of how much does it matter? They're about to play Crystal Palace at home. They should win that. If they have a problem with Crystal Palace as it is right now.
The fact that you tentatively said that.
They should, but
kind of speaks to the state of the system.
You draw against Bournemouth in a game where I'm sure Bournemouth feels like they could have gotten something. You get absolutely thrashed by Spurs, and then you get beaten decisively against Liverpool. Ollie Watkins not really involved at all.
On factor, yeah.
And that's been kind of the issue with them. Prior to that, like the results are fine. They drew away to Ipswich in this same like run of badness. So your one win is a 3-1 win at Fulham. I think that's like that almost feels wrong. The way that they've been playing.
Agree completely.
I just think the fixtures are now they're turning in a way where I think the attackers like I'm not like if I'm wild carding, yeah, there probably is. I would probably think about moving off of Morgan Rogers. But if you not like for me, I'm not moving off of
you
him.
Have him.
Yeah, but who
Smith Rowe.
who? My big move this past week was to go from
I can give you 5 players to go for.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Who do you need to sell for Rodgers? When was the last time Rodgers did anything for you?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I mean, before that.
Before that,
I knew it was something closer than that.
That's the issue with this is why like benching him is not like he's an easy bench.
Yeah.
Even now he's 5'4". He's 5'4". Right. But I'm saying like my move last week, I had the money to do it was to go from Tavernier, happy trails, Marcus Tavernier, to Bruno Fernandes. So that's
what a shocking move. That's not that easy of a money move,
right,
Mr. Bank Guy.
So that was some money. There was some money made up there, and that was largely money that I'd made from selling Solanke prior to his brace and bringing in Raul Jimenez. So at least I had the money, but I was able to turn 2 weeks after that, able to turn Tavernier into Bruno Fernandes. All that to say, like,
solid.
Morgan Rogers is not. He's not like. Yeah, is it him or Smith Rowe? I'd probably take Smith Rowe, I guess. I mean, probably for what they offer.
Rogers or Semenyo if they're healthy.
You're taking Semenyo. If it's one or the other,
Semenyo or Smith Rowe if they're both healthy.
You're taking Semenyo with Bournemouth schedule.
Yeah,
the Bournemouth schedule is driving.
Do you have Semenyo?
No, I don't.
Interesting.
I'm honestly looking through the transfers.
Do you have Evan Nelson?
No, we should talk about him though.
Well, that's the next section. Is
2,
same again.
4, 6, 8, 10. Semenyo cracks the top 10 midfield transfers in. I'm surprised he's not higher. I think it's that triangle.
Do you want to guess his ownership?
Who, Semenyo or Morgan Rogers?
Semenyo.
14%.
Lower.
Shut up.
I should have let you put the number and then you guess go higher, lower.
Higher, lower.
10.1%. That's shockingly low to me.
Weird.
I mean, you're not one of them, so
Rogers ownership.
Oh, it's got to be.
Don't look.
Morgan Rogers is probably high.
Okay.
I think it's
Travis, you put the number on it.
18%.
Higher or lower?
Higher, 33%.
That's very high. 21.8.
Okay, 21. Yeah, I figured it was higher, but yeah,
I was closest with not going over.
I just assumed like enabler bucks.
Yeah, enabler bucks.
Right.
Okay. I love the ownership percentages at times. That's a fun game.
Look, I already conceded defeat on Luka Dean, 2 pods ago? Like, I would have argued forever not to do anything about him, and then he kept being the one guy who did do something. And now there's so many accounts that are like, hey, Luka Dean, solid choice for look at the schedule for Aston Villa coming up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they might be right. That's the worst part about it.
That's so dumb.
Anyway.
Hey.
All right, Travis, next segment. Hot or Not is finally over. The segment that would never end.
Just to put a bow on it, though,
okay.
There are other teams who are hot and who are not.
Yes.
We are not going to
We've
get
just talked for an hour.
We
only have an hour to do Hot or Not.
That
was a long segment.
There was something in there.
Sure. Of course. All right, Travis, take us away.
Same again, please. Let's talk about the guys who... we're doing well and performing for you before the break, who nothing has really changed for, right?
Yeah.
Like they're still valuable. They're not injured. They're relevant, right?
Yeah, I was going to say it as, did the results from last week really change anybody's plans? And I don't know that they did. Like,
there's a couple of things like, maybe you move off of Trent. Maybe you
Trent was.
I have one move.
I was saying even Trent. There's one guy who I think completely messed things up for planning. But I was going to say it's always nice when the predicted player, like the players predicted to do well, that they actually do. And so when it lines up that way with results, I mean, it's everybody feels really good and can pat themselves on the back for their predictions. But a bit odd this week, all the top point scorers got it on minimal stats. So most of the players who scored the highest in FPL, like Bruno as a top performer this week, created a ton of chances, but he scored a goal on 2 shots. And like a lot of the guys who got big returns were not the ones who were leading the volume. Most of the volume players this week underperformed or got nothing. And so it was a weird like there are times where it's like, oh, this guy, like, of course he did well. He had 7 shots this week and he scored a goal and got an assist or whatever. It was kind of flipped for whatever reason this week. But I just think this past week you got all the confirmation bias that you needed, I think, to make whatever move
justify
you wanted.
Whatever you want to do.
Right. Yeah. But I think Bruno Fernandes is the biggest wrench in the turbine for anybody.
That's what I wanted to know. There's a lot of people out there like me who currently I own the top 4 fantasy scoring midfielders. They're in my squad. Saka, Semenyo. That's not true. Saka, Mbeumo, Palmer, and Salah.
Good job.
My thought is with Saka, do I sell him, Brian?
I don't know, Dave. He's your guy.
I know.
He's your precious star boy. I don't know what
Bruno is coming off of a 10 and a 17, for God's sakes.
Yeah. He was real easy to ignore when he's underachieving. And
and now I cannot ignore him with Saka in that same time doing 2 and 2.
Does the new manager mean anything, though? Does that play into the decision-making process?
I feel like it's going to unlock him somehow a little bit more.
I just feel like it's going to unlock a lot of people.
Rashford's the one that I think a lot of people are
hoping.
Yeah, kind of just because it's more of a system thing. Like the guy who when he's good, he's the best fit for what that manager is trying to do. So relying entirely on Manchester United fans and accounts who are paying attention to that kind of thing. Well, I have all you've ever seen is when Rashford's good, he's like an essential nailed player. In real life and in fantasy.
The thing that bothers me about the evaluation of Amorim for United is
You're a Liverpool fan.
No.
And can't see clearly.
No. Number one, his system right now has been 3 at the back. Mm-hmm. And so he's caught a lot of flack for that.
Yeah.
Hey, are you going to do 3 at the back? Hey, are you going to do 3 at the back? He's specifically been posed that question because that affects obviously the rest of the pitch. And he says, essentially, no, I got to play with the personnel that I've got. So any tactical analysis that can be thrown at, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do this, it isn't super relevant because because we don't know what twist he's going to do and how successful he can be not playing 3 at the back because that's where all the successes come from. So I'm a little bit concerned about Amorim and tactics. We know he wants to play high wing backs. He probably still will be able to in some capacity. But that's really the question. Who's going to benefit? Could it be Rashford? Absolutely. Absolutely. More likely, though, it's going to be Dalot and Mazwari and Luke Shaw and the outside backs.
Yeah.
I got a crazy question. Would you dare go Bruno in place of Mbeumo?
I've seen a lot of argument.
Not a bad idea.
I've seen a lot of argument for selling.
What's the thought on that?
The thought is
Mbeumo's got a triangle. Who knows? But I mean, he's been great all season. It just seems like that'd be so hard to come off of him.
It said he got an assist this week, and you watched Wissa get a brace. And I think every time that happens in the team,
this is a striker,
right?
And Mbeumo's a midfielder,
yeah,
right? And he's also their penalty taker.
Mbeumo. Yeah.
And Mbuemo's outscored Fernandez by 26 on the season.
Right. This is what I'm saying. Like the numbers for Bruno,
both.
The numbers for Bruno Fernandez have not mattered. Like he has grossly underperformed all of his statistics for basically 2 seasons. So even at his peak of statistical performance, he's still underperforming week on week. That was the FPL Raptors point about Manchester United weeks ago. That just because they switch managers, just because what the chances aren't the problem, it's putting the chances away. It just happens that this week he took 2 shots, puts one of them in the net, creates 7 chances, and 2 of those go for assists. So like he's been doing that a lot of the season. It hasn't been an issue of him either creating or getting into positions to score. It's the fact that he's blown it. So the question is, is there a consistency here with him? The fixtures say, like the part of the reason of bringing him in last week was because they were playing Southampton. This week they play at Ipswich, and the week after that they play Everton, and then they go to Gunnersaurus, and they have to try to win. A difficult, but struggling Arsenal team right now. But that's 3 games away. Who knows?
We won't be struggling by then.
Who knows what that's going to look like?
We're going to be rolling by then.
Right. And then after Everton, though, if you brought in a Manchester United person for this really good run of 3 matches, you could easily look at as soon as you finish Everton, you could say, well, here comes the toughies. They've got Arsenal away and then Nottingham Forest, that gray matchup against Nottingham Forest at home, and then they're away to Manchester City. And you could easily talk yourself out of keeping them through 3 tougher fixtures. And I don't know. Like, who knows by then? Maybe they've fixed a lot of things. But also, like, that's Wednesday the 4th, Saturday the 7th, and then a full week between Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. Mm-hmm. So you're piling things up here. Like, there's a lot to learn. The one thing you know for sure is that Bruno Fernandes is not coming out. Like, he's the one guy.
That's true.
That and he's going to complain about something.
Well, yes, for sure. If you had gone to Garnacho, which this podcast would have argued, and I definitely argued for Garnacho, you would have screamed when he was on the bench last game, and then you would have screamed again when he scored coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Late on.
Big time.
Right. So Garnacho's still like...
I was screaming because League Billy was getting Garnacho points and Bruno points, and I'm like,
Doubling up on those guys is...
bold.
That's some boldness.
Bold move, Cotton.
For sure. And it did pay off. No, I don't know. Bruno Fernandes, if it's a choice between him or the super premiums above him, like, you're not taking him over Salah. You're not selling Salah to get Bruno. You're not selling Palmer to get Bruno.
No.
You're not selling
Mbuemo.
But I'm saying Saka to Bruno. If it's Son to Bruno, then that's an you're doing that. But
Make it happen.
But you don't. But how many Son owners are left? What are they at? 4%. Saka to Bruno 6.9. is the line where you're like, I don't know if I'm doing that. I think you're probably still holding Saka.
25.3% for Saka.
And then for Mbeumo and Bruno, the question is, what do you do? Like, where are you getting that money? Is that a one move thing? Can you do that in one move? What's the rest of your midfield look like? Like, that's
Semenyo, Rogers.
I hate to say team dependent,
Smith
but I just
Rowe.
don't. I can't imagine that you're. I don't know. I can't imagine you're doing that. Salah did Salah things. Nothing changed for you about Salah? Are you concerned about Salah minutes coming off of the break?
No.
Right. So Salah's more of a find a way to get to him than he is there's no concern.
Captain Salah.
The Wissa transfer is the one where you like he makes the forward discussion difficult.
He does.
You could. That's maybe one. Like, he really can cover the other player in his team. Where like in a week, anytime someone in the same team outperforms, like if there's a popular guy and a less popular guy, and the less popular guy hauls, like of course you're gonna think about who are you gonna
anyone's
right. So I don't see how Wiss is a bad pick. Brentford's schedule I think is still very good. At Everton, home Leicester, at Villa, fine. Home Newcastle, fine. At Chelsea, I think that's fine. Those are attacker games. Home Nottingham Forest, depends, I guess, what defensive setup you get from Nottingham Forest. And then at Brighton. Those are all mostly fine attacking fixtures.
Diminishing as you go on, but yeah.
But I just think the first time where you're going to say, you know what,
we're losing him.
Brentford fixtures where you're like, I might move on from my Brentford guys is January 1st, like game weeks 19 through 22, where you've got home Arsenal, at Southampton, home Manchester City, home Liverpool. You have 4 weeks there where like that one match at Southampton, I guess you can bench those guys for the really, really tough fixtures, but I don't know. I feel like you just make a plan to get somebody else in there.
Try and keep them fit, but you can't bench them. Yeah.
Cunha, another haul. You have him.
I do.
You have him.
No, I got Strand.
Do you regret that?
A little bit. I need to see it one more week. Strand in his last 6 or 7 matches has been like 9-1, 8-2. So he's supposed to hit this next week. So I'm hoping that there's a hit. But he and Cunha seem to have been rotating weeks when they score.
It's still Christmas, actually New Year. I think that's the first time we're Wolves. I think you get them through really December 29th, that last away at Spurs. I think
Wolves and Bournemouth, they're just
I think
the best schedules.
For the attackers, the fixtures they're too good all the way through the end of the calendar year. I don't. It's a luxury move. If you made your bed with Strand Larson, you probably just have to roll
and
with
like
it.
This week, I'd rather, I don't know, I might just kind of flat roll with what I have, and if Saka performs great, and maybe not go to Bruno. I mean, that's the move, and I can't figure it out. I think I'm just going to hold.
Talked about Smith Rowe already. Joao Pedro and Danny Welbeck. Like this was another one where like Pedro single-handedly smashes Manchester City for 90 minutes. Wait, it was for 25 minutes. He smashed in 25 minutes. Goal, assist, gets all 3 bonus, 11 points. It just makes Welbeck look bad when Welbeck plays 90 minutes and gets no return, and Joao Pedro, first game back from long injury layoff, goes for a goal and an assist.
Joao Pedro is really tough because he doesn't really pass the eye test. I mean, he's getting all those returns, but he's getting all those returns scoring like the most like poacher goals out there, right? Like it's just when there's a scuffle in the 6, he's the guy on the end of it, right? It's not like he's, getting breakaways or, working great passes in the box, and then it's always like just scrappy, bundling the ball into the net. And it's just so hard to count on that type of chaos for him. I mean, unless he's taking penalties, right?
And that is a big benefit to him. So he played those first 3 weeks, sat out Ipswich, came back for 19 minutes against Nottingham Forest, hasn't played since, so that's game week 5. So he comes back for 25 minutes. The only thing I could say, like, per 90, I guess, if you want a per 90 comparison between him and Welbeck, like, Welbeck outshoots him. So per 90, Danny Welbeck averages 3 shots. Joao Pedro averages 2.35.
Okay.
He hasn't played. That's the thing. He's played 3 games and 40 minutes or whatever on the season. Yeah. But whatever. It's still like Welbeck outshoots him. He's slightly ahead of him with shots on target, but it's almost even, 1.18 to 1.16. So almost exactly the same. Danny Welbeck gets he's a slightly better for shots in the box, 2.12 shots per 90 compared to Pedro's 1.47. But Joao Pedro is ahead of him per 90 in big chances, touches in the opposition box, and he's more creative, slightly more creative.
I just think I gotta see more minutes for Pedro if I'm gonna move off Welbeck.
He's gonna get
Pedro.
him.
You know,
he's definitely gonna be good.
I'm not saying that stats
as long
aren't
as
there.
he's fit, that's the thing. Because now you're talking about 5.4 compared to
6-0.
I mean, and I would just say compared to anyone else, like the last big bargain of forwards it was Strand Larson, and I still think Raul Jimenez is a bit of a bargain at 5'8", but like
Delap could be at 5'6".
Yeah. So now, but that's the thing. You've got those guys as your that's now your bottom, where all these other all the other players like even Wissa is 0.7 higher than him. Cunha's way more. I think that's why Joao Pedro, all everyone needed to see was him get back out, and he crushes. And the Brighton fixture run, it turns now, and it goes same thing pretty much through the end of the calendar year. So, I don't know. I don't know which guy. I still feel like if I had said to you at the start of the season, Joao Pedro, Danny Welbeck, which of these guys is going to play 934 minutes,
right? And
which one is going to play 306 minutes?
It would definitely.
Who would you have picked?
Not Welbeck,
right? And Welbeck has played 934 minutes.
Blown away.
Right. So that's where it's like the prediction of this kind of thing. Like I don't know. I feel like Danny Welbeck. It's not like not a fantasy American football podcast, but Dwayne McFarland. If you play fantasy football in the United States, one of the excellent analytics dudes in fantasy football is Dwayne McFarland. He said it the other day about it just seems like the conventional fantasy player selection knowledge is player does well, player is good. Player does poorly, player is now bad. That seems to be Danny Welbeck gets he gets you a 2.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, well, obviously Joao Pedro's the good one here.
Sure.
And it's no, Danny Welbeck's been one of the most consistent performers, shockingly, for the full season. He didn't get a result against, supposedly one of the top teams, if not the top team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Joao Pedro gets a goal and an assist off the bench, and it's now half the world moving to him. It's I don't know.
Off the brakes, people.
Let's talk about some of these phantom triangles. We need those are all good points, but
I think FPL
all the
triangle guys are just we don't know.
No, but look,
they just threw triangles up there.
Look at the rest of the huge performances, though. Jordan Pickford finally gets the most boring game of all time. Produces 2 huge goalkeeper scores from Jordan Pickford and Lucas Fabianski. Your guy, Liam Delap, he finally has a huge game. Another goal and an assist, 3 bonus points, 11 points, a huge score this week. Why is he barely in the top 10 for forward transfers in this week? Delap just the schedule's still good for Ipswich. They're not. Again, it just didn't get bad. He's just not a 90-minute guy. Isak. Now this is 3 weeks in a row, and we just said he's a top 2 forward since he's come back from his injury. And then we talked about him last week. Some people had the guts to do it. Evan Nielsen, he is your other guy. It's the top in the last 4 game weeks. Your top 4 forwards are Chris Wood, Matheus Cunha, Alexander Isak, and Evan Nielsen. That's your top 4.
That's
and those
shocking.
guys are tied for first and tied for second.
That's shocking.
So Evan Nielsen, a goal, 2 bonus points, 8 points this week. This is 3 straight goals, 4 straight returns for him. He got an assist in game week 8. Dave, I'll bet you can guess what numbers I'm going to give you about Evan Nielsen. Guess how many shots those 3 goals came from?
3.
5 total shots.
Okay.
How many shots on target produced those 3 goals?
I would say 7.
No. He only took 5 shots.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the shots on target was 4. So he scored 3 goals from 5 total shots with 4 of those shots on target. Like, I get why you're buying him. It's the same reason why you're it's like the opposite Semenyo, where Semenyo is like the biggest volume of all players of the season, and he's only getting a few things. And Evan Nielsen has put away 3 of his last 4 shots on target.
Evan Nielsen, last 6 fantasy weeks, 9-2, 5-8, 7-8.
Yep. You love that consistency. And again, you're already, people have made plans for Semenyo. People are trying to find a way to get Bournemouth in the team. And Evan Nielsen he's getting it done. So now, that's just the guys who got you to 8 points. You know what I mean? Then there's so many of the other guys that if you were at least considering them, they got you something. So
yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
It just makes it harder to decide when to make a move when they get you something, and you're about to move off somebody, and then they just kind of trickle in another performance. You're like, daggone it, now what do I do with it?
Right.
It gets frustrating sometimes.
Sometimes, all the time. It's
Fair
always
enough.
frustrating.
What's the disappointment came from if you backed City, you are disappointed. If you backed Spurs, you're disappointed, and that is in the face of all of the stats. It's in the face of all the numbers, and in a way, especially with Spurs, if you went to Dominic Solanke this past week, you were doing it going into a matchup against Ipswich after Solanke had just gotten a brace in the previous game.
Mm-hmm.
There were legitimately good FPL accounts, legitimately good FPL managers who captained Dominic Solanke this week, and it was with I would say, how do you not see that as doing it with good reason? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you did it, you got crushed. You finished with a 2 in a game where Spurs just looked awful again. And it's after they thrash Aston Villa.
It is
what?
crazy. It's got to be so maddening as to be a Spurs fan. Number 1, you made a poor decision. Number 2, even if you did make a poor decision,
you mean
it's got
to
be
support
maddening
Spurs?
To support Spurs,
right.
because one week they look amazing. Next week they're like, who is this team? Next week they can beat anybody. The following week it's like, who is this team? That's maddening.
One week they have their logo and it says Tottenham Hotspur underneath, and the next week they make a decision to take away the words Tottenham Hotspur underneath the thing. They actually did that. That's a real thing that they did for branding. You should look it up. It's crazy.
My God.
No,
folks changing branding for next year.
I'm just saying, now you have fixture turns for Arsenal. You have Liverpool's cruising despite the fact that they've, supposedly have been in a tough stretch, and they're about to go into the toughest part of the tough stretch. But it's not it's not stopping anyone from buying Virgil van Dijk this week. Do you know what I'm saying? It just seems like a lot of the plans for what you were doing this week, I still have Kai Havertz in my team, Dave. I
still do too.
Right. And
I think I'm just going to leave him this week.
And he scored, scored. Your favorite ruled out, so didn't.
It's not a goal if it doesn't show up on the scoreboard.
Didn't score.
Hit the back of the net,
as Travis would say.
Hit the back of the net.
A non-goal goal.
Just because some nerd can't, let a rule go.
Anyway, but that's what I'm saying. Now it looks like a green matchup. If you backed or held on to your Arsenal players last week, you're largely disappointed. It didn't do anything for you.
Could have
changed the last kick of the match. Let's not forget that cross that trickled across, and 8 people had a shot at it.
Right.
There's that. So,
and then the one guy, the most popular player in the world, is Cole Palmer, and he's one of the very few players who did nothing. Did nothing.
So who's hurt? Who's not hurt?
We don't know. That's part of the Phantom Triangles.
Well, so
later in the week. This is Tuesday night. By the time you get to Friday, I don't think that if only there was a way.
So don't let the triangles freak you out. Be patient. Wait. Information is more important than $1 bucks.
Yeah.
But you got to actually remember to look. Right.
Yeah. I think that one of the other physio accounts it was out there somewhere just basically just said BS on every triangle for every important player. The only important player that has a triangle right now who's as legit, at least going into the next game, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. So
Ben White.
Well, Ben White's, but he's not. But he's had surgery.
Timber.
You weren't going.
He's out 6 weeks.
Right.
Timber's the move if you want to grab a defender.
Well, no. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like the Mbeumo triangle, Wissa triangle, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden. I still have Phil Foden in my team.
Semenyo's got a triangle.
Yeah, Semenyo triangle. Lots of triangles from a lot of extremely popular players, and I would say legitimately the only one that you would say not going to happen is Trent or people that had a surgery.
Agree.
Saka, McNeil.
You worried about Saka?
Semenyo, Gordon.
I think he's going to play. He's in my starting lineup.
Okay.
I think I'm going to play him. All right. Night moves, Travis. Let's wrap this thing up. We got about 3 or 4 more minutes, and we're wrapping up this pod. Night moves. I don't think I'm making a move this week. I think I'm going to bank it. I wanted to hear all the info here on the pod. My thought was, do I need to rush to Bruno? He's had 2 amazing weeks, 10-17. Does that continue? Am I going to miss out on another double-digit week? All these freaking questions, and I don't know what to do. I could eliminate. I could go to Bruno from Mbeumo. I could go there from Saka. All in one move. I just don't know if it's worth it this week. For me, Brentford's at Everton. Arsenal home to Forest. We've already discussed this. And United is what? Are they at Southampton? What did
United?
United's at
Southampton. Ipswich.
I'm looking at Liverpool. Liverpool's. Thank you. Yeah. Bruno's at Ipswich. So, okay. Ipswich is coming off a win against Spurs. They had a great international break. Does that little win kind of carry any momentum in? How will United react with a new manager?
Yeah.
So, I just don't know what to do there, but I think I'm just going to, when I don't know what to do and I don't have to make a move, I think I'm just going to hold steady and bank it.
So I've been doing the same thing, holding steady and kind of banking transfers.
How's that been working for you?
I've got 3 transfers. It's been fine. I had a very good score 2 weeks ago, a crappy score the week after, and then this last week a pretty good score. So it's been hit or miss. But coming off the international break, I get a little mini wild card because I've got a stack up of 3 transfers here. Okay. I think I'm going to make all 3 of them.
Whoa.
Right now I've got mocked up Trent to Mazraoui.
Okay.
Rodgers to Semenyo.
Okay.
And I'm still holding on to Luis Diaz. So I'm thinking Luis Diaz to Bruno Fernandes.
Oh yeah.
I think that improves my team.
Bro.
Yeah, I think that improves my team pretty significantly. Wow. And I was at a bank of 0 previously. I now have 1.2 in my bank because Trent's so freaking expensive
and underperforming his return on investment.
Dave, let me give you that. Dave, let me give
What's
you.
What's that Trent stat, Brian?
Dave, the Trent stat that you will love more than probably anybody else on this podcast, definitely more than me. I'm assuming more than Travis will.
Okay, all right.
FPL Bartowski on X. Fun fact for you, Dave. Goalkeeper Mats Sells has the same amount of attacking returns as Trent Alexander-Arnold this season.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Wow. I do love
good.
that stat.
Thank you,
I have been
FPL Bartowski.
not Trent all
Pretty
season.
good.
That's one of my better calls of the year so far, is not Trent all season.
Yeah.
Sometimes look, we can go into a lot of my bad calls, but that happens to be at the moment, knock on wood, one of my good calls.
Here's a good one for you, too, since I want to drag more accounts from other people into this podcast. FPL Prop Joe, who we've referenced before. I'm sure if you've been around there, you've seen
Sure.
it. You watch The Wire? You guys watch The Wire? He said, this is it for me. He said this on November 9th. This is at the end of the last game week. This is the end of the ride of non-owners. We're so lucky today. I got nothing but pain from out-of-position, flashy, tricky fullbacks like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rico Lewis. From now on, it's good old-fashioned center backs. You have 3 outcomes: 6-point clean sheet, no bonus, 15 points from a bullet header, or 0 to 2 points.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
You're right.
You're wrong.
I have mostly been on the almost entirely on the I want the guys who are making the runs and making the attacking moves.
Yeah, in the box, right?
Yeah,
You're in the box.
I am, or taking the set pieces or whatever, and I've largely been there since I've played, since I started playing this. I can understand this move. I can understand the logic.
I mean,
here.
3 out of the top 8 are really only center backs, though.
Yeah,
Just saying. The Gardeval's the weirdo. It's in there because he
is a center back, but not playing center back.
Right,
Yeah.
and he's pretty much City's best offensive asset some games. So
Because they need somebody that can shoot from outside the box.
So your move to Trent, you said, is to
Mazraoui.
Mazraoui. Okay, that makes sense. And
then
for 2 weeks, it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Is then I get to sit for 2 weeks, accrue some more transfers, and see what to do.
I need Foden will leave my team this week. I am a little nervous about
breaking news.
I just because it's Foden to Cole Palmer. That's it. So it's somehow going from Foden to Cole Palmer, which requires me. So I will be taking a hit. I have to take a hit to do it. So either it's Haaland out.
Okay.
Which if it's Haaland out, then it's a -8.
Then
I'm making then one of my other midfielders is becoming Salah.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Correct. Right.
So
Right. Sure.
I'm not taking out Haaland to not bring in Salah. So but to avoid
Haaland out,
right.
Salah in for Foden.
Right. And then I still have
You could just do a -4.
Well, he's trying to get in. Who else were you trying to get in?
That's the thing.
You'd love to get
Palmer.
Palmer and Salah.
Well, I don't want to, but that's the thing. I don't want to do this in like a big chunk of moves. So it's either I just bite the bullet and take a -12 and just say like, screw it, wild card's gone. I squandered. I had banked 4 transfers prior to this. I made all the wrong transfers with those 4 transfers. And now I need to just fix my mistake and just,
Do you need to do it all this week, though?
That's what I'm saying. So my very moderate -4 was Trent out, Foden out, Palmer in, and that leaves me 5.8 for a defender. So pretty much every defender is on the table at that point, which to me,
Timber.
It's Yuri and Timber.
Yeah.
So the move is Trent out, Timber in, Foden out, Palmer in.
Still have Haaland, so you can make a move later.
I like that, Brian.
Yeah. So the only other option with that would be, if I did, I could also do. I could do James Madison out, Trent out, keep Foden, but then I only have 4.1. So I'd have to go to a defender who is useless. And I already have Greaves from Ipswich.
Who's injured.
As useless.
Yeah.
So I don't hate, that's the thing. Like the preference, like I understand that given the situation, like I think Foden, as bad as they've been, Foden is not out of favor with Pep. James Madison, for some reason, seems to be out of favor with Ange, and no one's really sure why. So preferably, it would be preferable to lose Madison compared to Foden, all things considered. However, the money just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. Okay. Captaining, Brian. Who are you captaining? Assuming you bring in Salah. Captaining Salah?
No, if I bring in Foden.
Oh, no, you have Foden.
No. If I bring in Cole Palmer, sorry.
Gotcha.
If I bring in Cole Palmer, I'm probably captaining Erling Haaland.
What if you don't have Haaland?
I do have Haaland.
Okay. Fair enough.
If not Haaland, it would probably be Bruno Fernandes.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Ride the hottest hand in
sure.
in sports.
Totally get it. I am captaining Salah at Southampton. A proper pod would have the stats on Salah at Southampton over the last 10 years.
10 years. You don't need 10 years.
8 years, fine, whatever.
I don't think the last 3 matches. Liverpool
at Southampton.
At Southampton?
Yeah.
Yeah, Liverpool 2-1 at Southampton.
Did Salah score?
And I don't know about that actually.
Well, that's
and then the previous at Southampton was a 4-4 draw.
And did Salah score? I just want to know his scoring record against them away.
I don't care.
Anyway,
Salah has not scored against Southampton. Has not scored a goal against Southampton
ever.
It has been. Let's see. So
Okay,
the last
so
FA Cup, you didn't play anyone that mattered. You still beat them. In May, everyone but Salah scored in a 4-4 draw.
Okay.
3-1 in 2022. You got Darwin Brace and Roberto Firmino. Prior to that, you got Matip and Minamino winning the game for you. You got a Jota, Brace, Thiago, and Virgil. So it's been since at least 2021 that Mo Salah has scored a goal
Minamino's name
against Southampton.
Just reminded me of how many flops Klopp had, and had like 3 hits on his transfers in. It's another pod for another day. But Minamino,
that's terrible.
Minamino,
Here's just a terrible hot take
of a flop.
Here's a great
terrible
flops. I'll do a pod on that.
Here's a great trivia bit for you. You can answer this question: who has scored a goal for Liverpool? Who has scored more recently in a Liverpool-Southampton game? Mo Salah or Danny Ings?
Oh, based on what you just said, it's got to be Danny Ings.
Question begs the answer, Ings, but it's probably close.
It's Danny Ings.
Yeah.
Danny Ings in a 1-0 victory against Liverpool in 2021 scored in the 2nd minute. That had to be the most frustrating game of all time.
Wow.
Because they had just sold
So
him.
is Southampton a bogey team for Liverpool?
Can you imagine?
No,
the Liverpool mostly wins these games. It's that Salah. The last time Salah scored a goal against Southampton was in February 1st, 2020. He had a brace, and it was in the 71st minute and the 90th minute.
You know what? I think hot take here. I'm not going to captain Salah. Hot take. Southampton beats Liverpool tomorrow.
Can you imagine watching?
I'll take that.
Can you imagine watching a Southampton Liverpool game where Danny Ings scores a goal in the 2nd minute and there's no other scoring the rest of the game?
Yeah, I can because I watched that match. And
wow,
it was not my favorite thing.
Brian, that's an interesting point. You're right. Palmer Palmer might be a good captain tomorrow.
Captain Holland.
Don't have him.
Well, you're regretting that now, aren't you?
Maybe.
The crazy thing about Erling Haaland, by the way, not in addition to all of his,
I might captain Onana at Ipswich.
All of it after all.
That's no. Don't do that.
You're
Onana at Ipswich.
Don't do that.
First of all, Haaland, for all of the like screaming about selling him, dumping him, getting whoever, all the money he saved, whatever, he's 63.5% selected.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden Haaland's selection percentage dropped to like 8.
Well, right, but let's be honest, it was probably up around 80% at some point.
Oh no, I'm not doubting it's higher. It's just there really are, like, we say it forever. I'm sure there's plenty of we join the chorus of everybody saying there's a million ways to play the game this season. The one thing I do agree with people who have said it is, like, because he's so expensive, you can make the argument strongly against and strongly for whatever. Like,
that's fair.
I totally understand the strong feelings around it. I just don't see why is Manchester City, given the slump they're in, home to Tottenham, who's just
in trouble.
Yeah, like just
that's great,
floundering week on week.
Now's the time to play
a bad...
City, but now's also the time to play Tottenham.
Yeah,
so it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
You're hoping for 4-4 in that.
Oh, I would love that.
I'm hoping for 0-0.
Well,
I want City to blow somebody out because I still have Rico Lewis.
0-0. Yeah, I got Rico Lewis and Gardival.
Hey, Gardival is one guy who's not doesn't have a triangle on there, so
it's true.
I feel good.
He probably won't play because he's injured.
I think this week we said it. I just looking through the matchups and looking through the quality of the people you can captain. I think there are 4, and I don't know why you wouldn't include Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's purely because he hasn't had a huge game
against Spurs
at all since game week 4.
Yeah,
and I'm saying this season he hasn't had a huge game. He's had 6 games since then where he should have scored at least 2, and he hasn't scored more than 1 in any of them.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, well done. Hey, way to crush through this final international break week. We did it. We covered probably what we needed to and maybe a little bit more. Should be getting you ready for the following upcoming week. Good luck, as we are all saying good luck to ourselves as we're trying to figure out what to do.
The one player who this is the last thing. The one player I did kind of buy a little bit just because he's been there and he's played 90 minutes the last few weeks is Estupiñán. Purvis Estupiñán, back on the radar. Definitely, it was Kadioglu from Brighton who is also, I think he's out for months. So Estupiñán's left back position,
5-0 Estupiñán,
now nailed. At least you assume it's Estupiñán's to lose. Because now there is a lack of competition. He is on international duty, so there is that.
Is he Colombian?
He is.
I feel like he's Colombian.
If
only there was a way.
I can't remember off the top
He
of
is
my
from
head,
Ecuador.
Ecuador, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
But anyway, he's one of those guys where I was like, you know what? The Brighton fixtures we already talked about. That is one of the teams that. They are about to go on a nice run here, and he's 5-0, and a player that you've seen do it before. So
also seen not do it,
and also get hurt and be awful and fail miserably. So
this should be fun.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right, gentlemen, solid work, well done. Good luck this week. Again, I don't think there's any Friday games. I believe the matchups start on Saturday morning. Is this correct? Do we have this official here? As the internet yes, Saturday morning we launch with Chelsea at Leicester, and then
that might throw you off cold.
I hate an early captain.
Gandhi. Don't back the early kickoff. That's a meme.
You're a
that's
meme.
A very that's a deeply online thing.
I don't like the early kickoff.
All right.
For the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.